It's, you don't realize until you get to this point when, when she was reading all that off, like, wow, all that really happened in the past 7 years, huh? Thank you, Dr. Cohen, Dean Miller, Christy O'Rourke, and Professor Machado. I've been blessed with some amazing experiences over the past decade, but receiving this award from an institution and individuals I have such deep respect for is the most humbling experience. Graduates. Woo! Yeah? I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I could distill all of my stories from Five Towns and my career into something that might be useful for you. But the most valuable lesson I learned is probably best told through the story of someone else. I do some production work with a band called Franz, fronted by a guy named Aaron Waldman. Aaron and I met at a wedding in Maine in 2014, and after connecting over music, I invited him down to make a record with me. He took me up on it, and while he was visiting, I successfully convinced him to uproot from the woods of Maine and move to the big city. Now, Aaron is uniquely suited to say yes to that kind of opportunity for two reasons. Two reasons that should grab your attention, especially as new graduates with the whole world in front of you. The first is that for as long as I've known Aaron, he's basically lived out of a backpack. Even today, he can pack all of his belongings into a Ford Focus in under 10 minutes. Mom and Dad, in a few hours, you're going to remember this part of the story with a little bit of envy as you roll those big gray bins of your graduate stuff out of the dorms. And I sure can't talk. My parents had to rent a cargo van to move me out. But Aaron lives small, and I think it's one of the smartest things someone in their 20s can do. Live with minimal stuff and be able to say yes when opportunity invites you to go somewhere new. The second reason Aaron was able to say yes to New York City is that he's very good at taking a job as a means to an end while he focuses on a bigger goal. Now hear me out on this one, because I know that the last thing you want to hear as you're graduating is that you should pick up bartending. I'm not saying that. Depending on what your goal is, I'm also not saying that. But hear me out. Aaron's got his week refined to an impressive routine. He works 2 double shifts a week at a posh Chinese restaurant in Williamsburg. And those 2 shifts, he makes enough to cover all of his expenses for the week and put a little away. I should also note that Aaron barely spends money outside of the necessities. And it's impressive because it's not like he's a shut-in or anything. He's just very intentional about how he spends his resources. Now, Aaron's goal is to make a living by sharing his music with an audience who feels connected to it. Who here has a similar goal? Come on. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have a similar goal. Make a living for you and your collaborators by sharing your art with an audience that connects with it. That's what makes Five Towns special to me. That's what brings us all here together. For Aaron's band Franz, there's a pretty straightforward metric for success. If they sell out a venue, they make a nice chunk of change, and they can count that 200 plus people came to hear them play. But this is where Aaron's story embodies the greatest lesson I learned at Five Towns. 2 days in the bougie Chinese restaurant to pay the bills, 5 days out connecting with every person with any sort of common interest possible, including people he's met in his restaurant shifts. Now, if you and Aaron become friends, give him 2 weeks, and not only will he know what makes you tick, but he'll have met any friend you've brought up in conversation. When Aaron and I go out on the town, we'll stroll into a place, and the manager will come out and give him a great big hug, and the bartender won't take our money. Let me tell you, I learned a lot about dollars and cents in college, but Aaron teaches the master class on social currency. And it's not some trick of smooth talk or anything. Aaron actually identifies as an introvert. He's awkward. I know no one at Five Towns can relate to being awkward, so you're just gonna have to imagine what that's like. But what I'm saying is, Aaron isn't slick. The reason his strategy works is because it's genuine. Aaron genuinely cares about building a community. The reason he wants to get to know people is that he likes people. He wants to see them succeed. He's also wagering that if he can help you succeed, you'll do what you can to help him succeed. And in most cases, that just means buying a $10 ticket to see Franz play. That's the takeaway. They're probably going to sell out Rough Trade in Brooklyn on May 25th, and that night Aaron could introduce you to just about every person in the room because he built a community where everyone wants to see each other succeed. I graduated Five Towns in 2012, having built my community the way that you have over the past 4 years here. As a music producer at a prominent New York City music house, I hired Five Towns grads as composers and session players, landing them contracts on national ad campaigns for Citibank and Sprite and Chevy and so on. When I left that job after nearly 7 years, many of our clients contacted me personally to see what I was up to and if we'd still be able to work together. It was a really humbling feeling. But the reason that all of this was possible is that I deeply and genuinely care about the community that I've built. I'm up here with you now because of them. Today, by adding Five Towns College graduate to your resume, you and I become part of the same community. It's vibrant and full of wildly talented and brilliant people, and I'd be happy to introduce you to them all. But in this community, when you find someone who inspires you or is inspired by you, I ask that you find a way to work in these two questions. What is your goal, and what can I do to help? Congratulations on the conclusion of this chapter and the beginning of your next grand adventure. I look forward to meeting you today and when our paths cross in the future.